Are you stuck in Cursed City of Sintranos this rotation in any of these very difficult stages? If so, I'm gonna walk you through each and every single stage and each and every single of my team, and maybe share with you some strategies which you could use to get yourself past that roadblock. Let's go. Hey guys, SMZ here. We're back playing Raid Shadow Legends, and I have done this video a couple of times before, and I thought let's do it every single rotation based on my teams. So recently, with the monumental change that we've had recently in Raid, which is the free gear swap, now I am actually pushing a lot to get Sintranos hard done, all of the 1-on-1 stages every single rotation. Previously, there were some stages I would be stuck at, and then I just wouldn't do it because it takes so much silver to swap around gear, but I now just do it. This is one of the best things to do. It's going to be walking through all the stages. It's going to be a long one. So without further ado, let's jump into the stage. There's a free champion that you can get by using the link in my description. That is Narma the Return, a great champion to battle the Demon Lord. And you can get her alongside other crazy good epic champions like Anax, like Uugo, and like Mausoleum Mage as you progress through the game. How to get these champions for free? Here's how to do it. You go into your Plarium Play and log out of your current account. Click the link in the description and register with a brand new email address. Download the game and then play the tutorial, and you will find Narma sitting there chilling in your inbox. And you can get all of these crazy good epic champions as you progress through the game. Do not miss out on this opportunity. Click the link in the description and get these cool champions. Let's start off with Amius. So for Amius, this was my team right here. Very fast team. I have 2 damage dealers in Ninja and Whisper. Actually, this one I can just show you the run because it's, it's so fast. By now, I am able to blast through this stage quite easily. I've also helped a couple of people with account takers. If you're interested, just join my Discord, should be linked down in the description, and I'm happy to help you out in trying to beat Amius. I've already helped like 2 or 3 people for this particular rotation. So as you can see, 1 ally attack and 1 ninja attack already reduces the boss so much. Now all we are going to do is that we are going to go A3 and then extra turn A2, and boom, the boss is dead in 6 turns. So yeah, that's basically Whisper and Ninja going crazy. Whisper is built in a relentless set. She has a lot of ignore defense in her kit, especially on her A2, so you can also get Crushing Ren on 6-star, and then you don't need that much defense ignore from any of the sets, especially given that the boss is 350 level. That means 35% ignore defense coming from Crushing Ren. And then I have area bonus maxed out only for ignore defense on this, so that's 20% additionally. So let's go for S1. So for S1, whenever Carnage is available, he just solos things for me. He hits incredibly hard. I'm just going to showcase like just once on 1 wave. So all I need to do here is I just need to convert him into his alternate form. He has 2 AoE abilities just like that. Again, she revives. You can kill her like this, and then just Carnage will, with Crushing Ren, nuke through everybody. There's a weak hit because of the bad affinity, but it gets the job done. But you get the idea. Carnage basically takes care of S1 for me. If you don't have Carnage, you could use, for example, someone like a Mashald that's available for this stage. You can even use Astrolith that's available, but to be honest, Carnage is going to be available for a lot of people, given that he is a free champion if you've been doing long enough Cursed City. So that's S1. Let's go into S2. For S2, for me, my Mashald was the key. My Mashald has a 6-star blessing. In general, whenever you have a 6-star blessing on one of your nukers, this makes everything so simple. I'll show you what Mashald does. Mashald is super good. His AI is a bit weird, but you can just manual it. So A2 pushes out the fear on and leech on everybody. Leech is the most important, and then you go not A3 but A1 on the target which you think has the most survivability, and boom, he does the splash damage, all dead. So Mashal basically gets the job done. If you don't have Mashal, you can use Varl the Destroyer, this guy right here. He's available from the Doom Tower hard mode if you've been farming long enough. Very good champion who will also blast through the waves. Let's move on to S3. One of the stages, Polara, is available, the useless champion, given that it's how difficult it is to get her from Faction Wars hard mode. Not entirely that fascinating of a champion. Here I'm using 3 champions, these 3 in combination. So Gwendolyn, she was available from a Deck of Fate if I remember correctly. So I got her from there. Very good champion. Also very good champion for the Chimera. Some of you keep reminding me that I forget to mention her as a very good champion for Chimera in the Chimera videos. So she is with Leech, decrease accuracy, decrease speed, and Leech, as well as increasing the debuff duration on the enemies. So she's really good, and she gets an extra turn due to her passive. Now I got a 6-star soul for Errol, and Errol has 30% ignore defense everywhere in his kit, which means with Rend, he's ignoring almost all of the defense very easily. And then we have the Rat, Nishak Vermin Lord, who's really good. These three basically carry this stage for me. Let's move on to S4. So S4 is gonna be this combination for me. Seer, Queen of Hearts. Again, a lot of Void champions are helping me out previously. When I did not have Queen of Hearts, when I did not have Hegemon, then for me, Whisper was very useful here. I have 2 of them built out. They're that good. And then if you have a Demitha, she's going to be instrumental here as well with her block damage, as well as her healing and the shield. I recently got Arnorn, so I think I'll be running him in future rotations. But for this rotation, this was my team. You can also run Renegade to help reset your Nuker's AoE abilities. And if you have Skull Crown, especially on a higher blessing, even at 5-star Ren, she just one-shots people on the first hit, so it doesn't matter that she doesn't use the ignore defense with Crushing Ren on all abilities. So this is going to be what's going to be very useful here. Then we go on to S5. So S5, I think Embrace pretty much can solo this given enough time. He revives, he resets the Iron Brand debuffs, but if you have more people, throw them in. If you are lucky enough, super lucky to have a Sifi, she's going to be helpful here, but I just didn't need a reviver because I have personally enough damage. Mad Hatter is going to be super useful as well because he's just an incredible champion. One of the best fusions that we've had this year, and this year has had a lot of good fusions, to be honest. You can also bring in, for example, a Rector Draft if you have a Whispers available here, Skull Crown, as well as Siege Hulk. They're all going to be super useful for this particular fight. S6 is the stage that a lot of people get stuck on, and for me, for this rotation, I forgot that I now have a Duchess, so I didn't use her. I use this team right here. And the main champion here is Helicath. Helicath, if you have a high solo on him, I don't even have him in Crushing Ren, but Helicath in general hits hard. And because of his passive that he counterattacks every time a champion under block damage is hit, he protects your team with block damage with shield, but he also counterattacks. And he does good damage. So what I throw him in for this fight is in a 9-piece protection to protect his block damage and whatnot. But I do build him up with damage. So almost 100%. I think you saw that the helmet is missing. As high crit damage as you can and as high defense as you can take him. And basically, I could also switch him to Crushing Ren and it would make him do things even better. But yeah, he's the main champion who gets the job done here. With that said, Padraig is also very essential. Padraig, another champion who was available, I think, from a deck of Fate that I obtained. So kind of a guaranteed champion if you have the resources. Very good champion as well with the ally attack, with always giving each damage dealer their needed buff, and with the cleanse on his A3. Sometimes what I like to do is I also like to use Masamoto. I've built him up. As you can see, he's ungeared. What I do is I throw on him my best defense-based damage dealer from the Shadowkin's gear set. So for example, a Michinaki. I would take Michinaki's gear just to clear out the stage. So that's going to be the strategy over here. For my reviver, I use Dur, who's actually quite good for this particular fight. And then this girl right here, this rare champion, which is Marcus. She also hits relatively hard. She also has a freeze on her A3. So I would also recommend if you want to use her, she hits reasonably hard as a defense champion. So that's S6. Once you pass S6, then there is S7. Again, it will depend on what good champions you have. For me, it's Supreme Elhain doing the damage. And then to be honest, for me, Mithrala and Lydia are both built for damage as well. And then just for good measure, I also have Vlad, but I can, to be honest, also use my Vizix. I've done a dedicated video on Vizix where I show that you definitely should not be feeding her. She's an incredible champion, so do check that out. She's going to be useful in your Faction Wars hard mode as well, given that Dark Elves lack a lot of good options. So that's my team for S7. Let's move on to S8, another stage where some people do get stuck at. And here is this champion that I would like to highlight. One of the underrated champions that nobody builds, nobody talks about, Bharat the Bloodsoaked. He's available in a lot of these niche Cursed City stages, and he's quite good. And he can hit hard. I had starting out only a 3-star blessing on him. Now I have 5, which helps tremendously, of course. He does put a decreased defense and decreased attack as well as a shield, and he can hit hard. And the good thing is that he's an HP based champion, easy to keep him alive. So this is kind of the gear that I have on him. Ignore defense sister, savage gear set, I believe. I also have her, but I think I didn't need Esme for this particular fight. One of the main things that helped me out was my Alsgor over here, if you are lucky enough to have him. He has a 2-turn block damage. Even unbooked, it's actually quite good. AoE hit, which he removes buffs. I put him in a stun set actually, and he helps out tremendously. If you have Spider, an epic champion, he's a good defense down and weaken champion. One of the fastest animations, by the way, and he's gonna help you out. And so does Mordecai with his turn meter control on his A2 as well as A1, and then the burn on his A3 with the increased attack. Increased attack not really useful for this fight because most of the champions are HP champions or support champions. But that's the combination that got me through. Let's move on to S9. Which is the Sand Devil. The Sand Devil, you can just use your Emrys to solo the fight. And all you need to do is, you need to be careful, because the problem is that presets are not available for Cursed City, which means that if you leave him on auto, he's going to switch form. So you start off, you do need to switch form once, and now you can put it on auto. But to be honest, the problem is that he will try to switch back to his first form. So if you after a while, you just take control and make sure he doesn't switch. That's basically pretty much it. And then otherwise he slows the fight. And his gear is basically the same as the arena gear that I use on him. So for me, that the stats are going to be these: 93k HP. I'm lacking blessings still on Emrys. 100% crit rate, 264 crit damage. Accuracy is not really important on him, and high speed to make sure that he goes before my nuker in the arena. So yeah, he can definitely solo the fight. I've done it in 109 turns, as you can see. But if you don't want to go down this route, you can, of course, for this rotation, you also have God Seeker available. So you can run God Seeker with any damage dealer. You can use God Seeker and Emrys if you want. You can run God Seeker and Seer if you want. You can run God Seeker and Ashnar if you have him, for example. Any decent damage dealer will do in getting this done if you have a God Seeker built in region, as well as giving her the Miracle Heal blessing. So that's it for S9. Let's move on to S10 then. So for S10, for me, my main damage was Yakar, another free to obtain champion from the shop. Very good champion, not just for damage but also for control with freeze and decrease speed. If you have this fusion, Vlad is going to be useful as well. I have Cardiel, which helps out with the ally attack, and I also have my Venus, who helps out with the defense down weaken. But this should get the job done. If you have, for example, a Shamael, I have 3 of them built out for early days in Hydra, where he was all the rage. I don't use all 3 of them. Or actually, I don't even use 1 of them anymore. But for niche stages, sometimes I do like to bring him on. So that's what I would recommend for this fight for was it S10? Yes, it was S10, right? Okay, then let's move on to S11. The double boss can be tricky. If you have an Elva, easy game, because you need to cleanse out the poisons. You need to basically revive if somebody dies. If you don't have an Elva, you can also use Oela, who was a fusion champion. If you have Cithalia, also going to be super useful in healing your team. She does one person heal and cleanse, but she does it on a 2-turn cooldown, so you can get back to it easily. If you have a Kymar, you can reset as well and strip that initial counter attack on the spiderlings. For damage, one of the most recent fusions, Crockhad, is going to be amazing for this fight. So I would highly recommend that you use this guy over here. Kellen, another good shout out, does a lot of damage. One of the best damage dealers, or epic damage, actually any damage dealers, especially for the Sylvan Watchers faction. So that's what I used for this fight. Let's move on to S12, which is gonna be, so for me, it was between a couple of damage dealers. So I used Sun Wukong, incredible champion. I did a very exclusive video on him, one-shotting the Ice Golem hard 10 million damage in one hit with this build. Do check that out if you haven't already done so. But he was instrumental here, and so was Varl. Nekmo, if you have him, helps with the controlling the fight a little bit, because he does increase speed on your team, decrease speed on the enemies, as well as decrease attack. So very good champion. Mezumel is just there just to stand and just take appreciation for just being there, because, you know, one of the worst mythicals out there. If you're lacking healing, I would also highlight Steel Skull. Very good champion for this particular fight. And then you can also use Fane, for example. If you have her, especially on a high blessing, she can hit smack with a high blessing, so you can definitely use her over here. Let's move on to S13. For S13, my main damage for Ogren tribes is Siege Hulk, one of the best damage dealers in the game, especially with a higher blessing. Very, very good damage dealer. He has an AoE, gives himself increased attack and puts defense down, gets himself increased crit damage, increased crit rate, as well as decreased speed. So very, very good champion for this particular fight. I have 2 Ugos built out again for the Hydra back in the day. I use both of them in this fight. They're very useful. And one of the best ways to slowly pump out damage is Venom Mage. Venom Mage puts a lot of poisons. I double down on that by giving her a toxic set. So she's just putting a lot of poison. Gave her this relic as well. Doesn't do that much damage on PvE, of course, but a little bit helps and also pumps up her attack a little bit. And yeah, she's a very good damage dealer that I would like to highlight for this particular fight. I don't have no idea why I have Mux Stalker in the team. Maybe just to put sleep, just to control. I think on the first wave we have what's his name, the beard guy who cleanses, the Skinwalker champion. I don't remember his name. So maybe to put him to sleep was my strategy back in the day. I don't need it anymore, but that's one way to get past it. S14, one of the most difficult stages everywhere, and that's where comes in my MVP, my Deliana, 6-star Deliana. Incredible champion. Put her in a Slayer set and she just smacks. This stage I used to struggle with a lot, but since I have Deliana, I basically breeze through it. I think I did it fastest or close to fastest. Yeah, other champions help out, of course, but Deliana is the main key. I talked about Barth already. Very good damage dealer. If you did the Lonatharal fusion, it's going to be very useful. If you have this girl right here, Shiramani, she's going to be helpful with freeze, with heals, and of course Elsgore is really good with decreasing the buffs or removing the buffs rather, especially on wave 2 with Tuhanarak and with Valk, the 2 Valks that are on the wave, and with the block damage on your own team. Other champions that I could highlight are Mordecai, again with turn meter control, HP burn, as well as Esme the dancer, this girl right here, but also this guy I've used previously when I did not have Deliana built out, Sentinel. He has an AoE attack, decrease attack, and heal reduction, and I put him in a stun set. And he heals, basically, heal can be critical, and he has a provoke. So, rare champion, but can be useful in this particular fight. So, S14, if you are able to clear this, one of the, as I said, one of the most difficult stages every single rotation, leads on to S15, another very difficult one. Here, note is available, which makes this particular round easy, especially if you have a Morag built out. Morag, one of the best damage dealers, and if you have her, definitely build her out for Sintranos. Very useful on many stages. If you have her, you can do ally attack. You can start off with the A2 from both notes to put the counter attack. So take the first hit from the Fire Knight, and basically then they will slowly top the shield. Geomancer, super helpful. You can start out with putting the burn on the spider, and then that's how you can kill him as well. If you are lucky enough to have an Acrizia, she's going to blast through the spider and then also help you out with the Fire Knight. So it's going to be very useful. Mikey is also available for this stage, so also a very good champion that you can bring to this fight. So is Rathalos, and so is Holland, another very good champion in this fight. Who else? Quintus is really good for this fight with double hitter, which can turn into a quad hit, and he can hit quite hard. So that would be one recommendation. If nothing else works, then try the Daithi, another incredible champion. One of my favorite champions, especially in the build that I have in him on, which is like extra turn after extra turn after extra turn. If you haven't watched my showcase video on Daithi, please watch that. It's incredible how many extra turns he takes and he destroys everything basically. So after S15, we have S16. So for S16, Gala is my main damage dealer over here with the 6-star Rend. If you have Genbo, I only have him on 5-star. Again, 5-star is good enough for the first 2 hits, so I bring him in, but Gala is my main damage. And then Lamasu is going to be the reset champion who's going to help her out. Crazier can also hit hard given that these people have high HPs, but she's not going to be one-shotting or even two-shotting people, but she is going to be putting on defense down. She's going to be defense down with the A1, stealing the turn meter, AoE hits. She's going to be quite good, especially if you have cruelty on her. She's going to be reducing defense, allowing your other champions to kill the boss. You can also use this epic champion Uboro, very good damage dealer as well, very good for this fight, so you can definitely use her. You should also use Dimitha if you're lacking healing, if you're having difficulty surviving in this fight. After S16, we move on to S17. So S17, this is the team. S17, I'm not going to go into details. I have a dedicated video for S17 for this rotation. Check that out, please. This is a very unusual strategy, but a very effective strategy to defeat the Fire Knight on this rotation. After S17, let's move on to S18. Here, this was a bit of a difficult one, but the way I make this work is with Hylacia. Hylacia is my defense down, AoE defense down champion, and then she can put Hex as well. And then Razin is very useful here. So I put him in a Reflex Merciless set because his AoE is on a 6-turn cooldown even after booking. And with Reflex Merciless, he gets back to it in okayish time, I would say, and then you can use him. By the time you get to the second wave, this is back already. So he is quite helpful in controlling the waves while you do damage. Zavia was my main damage dealer. Xavier, how else would you pronounce it? But yeah, she's quite good. So that was my main damage dealer. For control, I also had Brood Lord built out. He has an AoE stun. Low chance, but still is an AoE stun. Ally Protect and a Provoke. So a good champion over here. Tia, I have just built out. She doesn't do that much damage, but I know that if I really invest resources into building her out more, she might be able to help me out enough, but I didn't need to. I just got by this stage. The enemies on this waves are not that difficult, to be honest. But that is not the case for S19. One of the, actually probably the most difficult stage every single rotation. This time around, again, very limited roster. I didn't even use a reviver. This was my team and it was tough. As you can see, only 3 people have from my clan, which is actually a quite good clan, but only 3 people have actually done this boss. And for me, I used my 2 Necmos. You could also use 1 Necmo and bring in a second Gnarlhorn. So Necmo I put in a stun set, both of them. And that's how I did it. It was just stun after stun. I actually did this fight on a live stream, I think a few weeks back. So if you want to look at that, just loop through my live streams. I used Krokmar as well, and he's in an AoE. He does 2 AoE hits on his A1 and as well on his A2. A3 is just a self buff and extra turn. So that's why I put him in a stun set. A1 AoE is if it's critical, so just keep that in mind. You'll need to build out the crit rate. And then the MVP here is going to be Grand Oak Padraig once again with the ally attack as well as with the cleanse and decreasing the ally cooldowns. I initially thought of bringing Steel Skull, but please don't use Steel Skull over here. It's because Steel Skull puts poisons on his A1 and the first wave has a Marechka, which will put the block damage. So don't bring Steel Skull for this fight. With S19 out of the way, let's look at S20, which is right here. Another difficult stage, which was made easy thanks to me having a 6-star blessing on my Valk. But previously, I've done it with this champion. Ugir the Worm Eater was a fusion, not a very popular fusion, I would say, but he's actually quite good. Has helped me out tremendously in my Ogren tribes, to be honest. He puts out a lot of decent buffs, increased defense and increased attack, and his AoE hit is quite decent. Even at 3-star, he hits hard. And he does it every time somebody's revives, which is also very nice. And then one of the best fusions that I've used from the Ogrens, very underrated in my opinion, Blizzard the Howler. AoE freeze, A1 triple hitter freeze, increased defense, ally protect, built-in survivability, built-in revive on death. Incredible champion. And I think we were able to get the 5-star soul for him as well when he was live in the fusion. And he is just incredible. He's so helpful in any wave-based content. So I use him here as well. Another champion is Vote Painted. Very good champion. After the buff that she had a few years ago, put her in a Merciless and Reflex set, and then she does A2 again and again, removing the debuff and healing your team almost to the max pretty much all the time. And another champion I would like to highlight is Hoskerl, who was also a fusion champion. Yes, we used to have epic fusion champions back in the day. He has an AoE stun that's useful, and increased resistance, increased defense, and an A1 stun as well for a single target. Another champion you could use is Walking Tomb Reng, another very good champion, who also was a fusion. And yeah, that's going to be the way to do this. After S20, you go into S21. For S21, this was my team. Again, main support is going to be Emrys. And Emrys in combination, this is like 3 people here are from my Knights Revenant Faction Wars Hard 21 farm. So again, Doom Priest, very good champion. Very, very good champion. Built her fast, built her in a relentless set, give her this new relic that has come out, which is super useful for her. I actually helped someone beat the boss Amius hard mode for the first time ever on their account with this one change for them. Relentless and this relic, Exocar's Totem, if you have it. Very good relic for her. Increase her turn meter anytime any ally gets CC'd basically, and then she will cleanse it out with her passive. So very good champion. I also use Uugo over here, another fusion champion, very good. He's been power crept, he's not as useful in my opinion anymore. Mad Hatter certainly still very useful with the ally attack on his A1 with 1 ally. The AoE Hex and Weaken, very good champion. So that's how you get S21 done. Moving on to S22, we were gonna have the double boss. Mikage is key. Start off with the fastest being Mikage, turn into the second form, stun the enemy team, and then just kill your reflections and then just deal with the boss. It's gonna be quite easy going from there with these champions. My main damage dealer for me was Ashnar, but you could use, and I have previously used Zargala, also very good damage dealer. for this vertical rotation. And yeah, otherwise you can just kill them slowly over time, even with brimstone and such. Mikage also hits reasonably hard. Razin can hit hard if built. So in this fight, it's better to build Razin for damage as opposed to the merciless reflex that I talked about in one of the previous stages. So that's S22. Then there are 3 stages for the actually awakened stages. There's no use to talk about because it highly depends on which champions you have high blessings on, and you're going to be using these. This is what I use for S23. For S24, this is what I use, my double Michinaki, double Kaimar combo. Don't need any of these because Marius can solo the fight, to be honest. But nice to just see it. And then finally, S25 was my main damage dealers here were Daithi, Empress, Ninja, and Thor. All incredible champions. I don't know why I have Arbais here. Don't need it, to be honest. But yeah, that was my team. So those are all my teams for all of the Sintranos hard stages. I hope you liked the video. If you did so, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Helps me out tremendously as a small channel. Thanks once again for watching and see you next time.